Welcome to Blueprint for a New Reality, weekly webinar where we discuss the current trends and happenings in the roofing industry. This week, we're discussing storms with Derik Kline from Hail Trace. Every week, we introduce the panel, and we're going to change it up a little bit and actually introduce Jason Sloan first, and we'll just walk our way through the fellas.
I'm Jason Sloan. I'm the business development specialist with Furtado Law Solutions. We're a supplement company backed by attorneys.
Cool. Will?
I'm William. I'm the general manager of production for Labor Connect, and I work with Mr. Nathan Higgs down there.
All right, Nathan Higgs.
I'm Nathan Higgs. I'm the director of operations of Labor Connect.
And Jeff?
I'm Jeff Wisniewski. I'm the president and founder of GiddyUp, the CRM software company, and I work with Rebecca.
Yeah, call me. All right, so Derik, we want to hear about you, what you do, what you're doing in that truck, and then we've got Facebook Live sent some questions in from our viewers and from our panel, okay?
Awesome, that sounds great. So I'm Derik Kline. I'm the founder of Hail Trace. Actually, almost 10 years ago, our 10-year anniversary is on May 16th. So we're a storm mapping solution, but really more of a sales solution around storms. And today I'm actually going storm chasing. So I'm a lead storm chaser for a local TV station in Oklahoma City, and we're gonna have severe weather, big hail in Oklahoma and Texas today, and so they've got me deployed to Western Oklahoma. So we are in the truck right now driving. I'm not driving, hands-free, but I'm driving, or I'm riding, I should say, I guess, out to Western Oklahoma, and hopefully here in a couple hours I'll be in some baseball-sized hail. We'll see though.
All right, cool. We've got a series of questions. Nothing has come through yet on Facebook, so we're going to go straight to the panel. Jeff, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, maybe you can kind of help some of our viewers understand. Obviously, we have a lot of people that are doing storm restoration, and I think what everybody always asks is, where does it hail the most? Right? What is that honey spot?
Yeah, so there's and just the fact that we're in the United States puts us at a different level than the rest of the world. But inside of the United States, there are definitely some hot spots, and then for different reasons that you have these hot spots. But the number one city, the city that gets more hail than any city in the United States, is Dallas, Texas. It can't be beaten. It's almost double what the second place city in the United States is in the amount of hail. Now that happens for a couple of reasons. One is just the sheer size of Dallas. It's a really, really large city. So it's kind of easy to get a hit. So it's harder for a storm to miss Dallas. So that's the first thing that kind of sticks out. But they're also prime. They're in the plains and in an area where cold air, dry air, and moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, they all like to collide right in this part of the country. But Dallas has one thing that sets it apart from the rest of the cities in the plains, and it's because of its size. So not only is it an easy target, also it has a really, really with what it's able to do for that city. But so a lot of times we have this lid in our atmosphere that keeps thunderstorms from developing. And the way to overcome that lid is to warm up the surface. So the warmer it gets at the surface, the easier it is for thunderstorms to go up. Well, Dallas, a lot of times in the evening is anywhere from 5 to 10, even 12 degrees warmer than the rest of the land around it. And so that heat actually allows thunderstorms to develop over the city when a lot of times they can't. And so I think it was last year or the year before, they had a thunderstorm that dropped baseball-sized hail across the entire city. And that thunderstorm would have never formed in any other city in the rest of the country. And so it's pretty unique in how they're able to develop and form. So that's the number one spot. Number two, though, and sometimes for damaging hail is really key. My friend Nathan Higgs up there, and Jason, I know, Denver, Colorado is number two. And they get a ton of hail in Denver, and it's typically more of your high volume hail. So you don't get softballs too often, although they've kind of been pulling that off the last few years. But you don't get softballs. Typically, you get a high volume of golf ball and quarter size hail. Enough, we call it plowable snow, where they have to actually get their snow plows out to clear things off. But a couple of things really go into the amount of damage that you get in Denver. One is their elevation. The hailstones don't have as far to fall. And so with that, they don't melt as much. And so that enables them to be a little bit harder, and they do a little bit more damage. And also the snowpack in the mountains can actually play a really big role. So as the jet stream comes off the top of the mountains, it can roll off that snowpack and actually inject some cooler air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And that can also contribute to an increased volume of hail and increased density on the hail. So sometimes you get some bigger hail that way too. So a lot to say that Dallas and Denver is probably where you want to be, number one and number two. But they get a lot of hail in those markets for sure. Great question.
I love that hail, man. That's the white stuff that I enjoy.
All right, Nathan, we'll just go from there and maybe your question.
So my question is, how did you start Hail Trace? When I know that you became, interested in the hail market, but what differentiates you from other hail mapping services? What makes you different in that sense?
Yeah, so I started Hail Trace just out of luck, I would say. So May 2010, a big hailstorm moved through Oklahoma City, and a contractor asked, and it was actually Chris was with me as a good storm chasing buddy, and they were like, "Hey, could you make us a map of where that storm happened?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And we thought it was kind of a good idea, and so I kind of ran with it, and voila, Hail Trace was born over a lot of hard work and a lot of ups and downs, but it turned into it. But what kind of sets us apart, and we kind of got lucky on that too, was the meteorologists. So we have a team of 6 of them now on our team, and they literally track by hand every single hailstorm across the United States. And so that enables us to get a much higher level of accuracy when it comes to the maps that we produce. And there is no such thing as a perfect solution out there. So I'll never say that we're perfect and we get everything right. But we have the ability to analyze a thunderstorm in a way that nobody else can. And what we've kind of set ourselves up for it further is because we've been doing it for so long, and we have the archive to back it up. So it'd be really hard for somebody to hire a team of meteorologists and then map all the storms. It takes 6 just to track the storms live as they happen. So to build an archive is virtually impossible now. But it's really enabled us to increase the accuracy, whether it's the size or understand the volume of hail that's falling. There's lots of things that we're able to do to be better than a lot of the other solutions that are out there.
Yeah, and I mean the neat thing that I found with your hail maps is the accuracy is there. You're not just given blank information.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and then just our ability to go in. Sometimes we don't know on a storm, but our ability to go in through social media, right, and find pictures of it, or maybe we're like, this storm doesn't look very good, but then all of a sudden you see a picture of a window busted out in a car, and you go, oh, maybe this storm is good. And then you're able to kind of recalibrate your thought process on that, and then actually map it accurately.
Yeah.
So I think that goes into a lot of it, is being able to, we can analyze the radar really good, but there's always the unknown. Great question.
William, you want to go?
So I've dabbled in like hail trade, but kind of being outside the contractor rating. How does the star rating work? Like when you're gauging that in big detail about how you determine how you rate your storms?
Yeah. So when we look at a storm, and it's sometimes it's kind of hard. So I think to the contractor, the way that they're going to look at it, they're going to look at it from a standpoint of the volume of hail that actually, they're looking for the volume of damage necessarily. We don't make damage maps, unfortunately, at least not currently. It's definitely on our radar, pun intended there, of things to do. But so the goal is as opposed to damage. So what we want to look at is we're trying to look at the volume of hail. How much hail do we see falling? And then what's the size? And then what's the number of homes that were impacted? And that's kind of what we go off of. So you could have baseball size hail, and if it hits 2 houses, it's going to be a 1-star map. So it's not necessarily off the size of hail. So we want to see volume of homes or businesses impacted and a good size of hail. You could have, quarter size hail, 1-inch hail hit 200 or 300,000 houses, and that's probably going to be like a 2-star map. So it's still going to stay low. But if we get 100,000 houses hit with 2-inch hail and we think it might be damaging, not isolated, then we're going to bump that up to that 5-star level. And so that's kind of what we use to judge. And then sometimes, information comes in a little later and we find out, maybe it was a lower end 5-star or higher end 5-star. But we try to leave them the same once we rate them. But that's basically what we want to do. So we want to see, to make it a higher rated storm, we want to go lots of houses with at least good, bigger than golf ball size hail. And then your 3-star maps they're going to be just kind of your middle of the run. 3-star maps to us, we look at them as like a good local storm. And they could be good for a storm chaser, maybe if they've got a lot of, recent business in that area. But for the most part, we look at, 5 stars as being good for just about everybody. A 3-star I've had guys make, 5-10 million off of a 3-star map. But typically off of a local contractor working their existing business.
Derik was so excited to explain to us the star rating, he didn't even realize that somebody was stealing everything out of his truck while it was happening. Thank God Derik didn't get mugged, but he has nothing left, so,
it's just storm chasing. I don't need anything anyway, so I just rather look at it. So
as long as you got gas, you're good, right?
That's right. Sometimes the gas gauge on this truck is not very good either, so that can be an issue. I've run out of gas a few times.
You did it on the way to Las Vegas a couple years back.
I did, yeah. So this thing's old. This thing is definitely taken me. So we ran out of gas doing that. We also the Serpentine belt when we were driving it to Las Vegas one time. So we got the craziest story behind that is everybody's familiar with the Eagles, hopefully. And so there's the Eagles song where they get stuck in I'm drawing a blank now. What's the name of the town on I-40 and it's in the Eagles song. And I'm drawing a blank and everybody's looking at me like I don't know what song you're talking about. Winslow, there it is.
Arizona?
Winslow,
Yeah.
Arizona. That is literally where I broke down. And so like the lady that comes to pick us up to after we got the truck towed in, she's like, so that Eagles song, that's like a true story. They literally broke down on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. And they like had to stay here for the whole weekend. So like you're kind of like the Eagles. And I was like, well, I mean, not really like the Eagles, but but it's a little podunk town. We had to get a taxi ride all the way to Flagstaff, 60 miles away, and get a rental car to drive to Arizona for, I think it was for Anthony Delmedico's show.
It was.
That was a fun trip. Luckily, I wasn't planning on having the truck in the trade show that year, so we didn't actually need it that year. But this truck is giving us some runs for sure.
Well, we don't want to forget Jason. We don't want to leave him out. He's got a question, if you don't mind. Go right ahead, bud.
Yeah, what's the importance of the date of loss?
Data loss is kind of one of those deals. I'll get phone calls from contractors and they're like, I don't really care what the data loss is, just give me a date. And I'm like, well, then you don't really need my service if you really care about that, so just give them a date. But it really boils down to, and I think Jason, working with the law firm, I think you could probably appreciate this a little bit more. It's really on those cases when if the insurance company decides that they want to call your bluff, that's where it's going to get you. That's where it's going to come back to bite you, because you need to make sure that data loss that you gave actually happened. I have a great example that I always like to throw in, and this is with a so this was a Baptist church in Midwest City, Oklahoma, and what actually occurred is the contractor pulled a bad data loss. They used July in Oklahoma, which is kind of was a big metal roof, and it did have hail damage. It had 2-inch hail damage, and they were able to find some random resource out there that gave them a report for 2-inch hail, and the insurance company called their bluff.
They also stole Derik's
To their insurance
microphone.
company that what's that?
We were losing you a little bit there, Derik.
Oh, did I cut out? Sorry, cell phone coverage. So I was saying, can you hear me better now? Can you guys hear
If
me
you
good?
cut out, we're going to ask Jason to sing a little bit of the Eagles song that you were referring to, just to kind of fill the space, maybe. Jason, can you do that solo, or do you want Will to jump in there with you?
Wait, I want to hear that, so don't do that if I cut out. So there's this Baptist church, right? Kind of the skinny of the story. They literally had 2-inch hail damage. The data loss wasn't accurate. We actually pulled the radar on the date that they gave, and it barely rained at the property. And so we had to go back and find the accurate data loss. Turns out it was before the statute of limitations, and now this church is not going to get paid for the roof that they have to pay for it out of pocket on themselves because the contractor gave a bad data loss. So be careful with that. It can come back to bite you, and I would hate for that to be something that a contractor would have to deal with. It'd be a really bad customer experience for the contractor, and really put the policyholder in a bad situation.
Great. Hey, Derik, can you talk about some of your extra features? I know you guys have the ATM and some other stuff. So if you can go over that and maybe anything else that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, so we do have some stuff. I can't talk about what's coming, but it's coming very soon. So I can't talk about that yet because of some NDAs and stuff like that. But there is some really cool stuff coming very soon for HealthTrace. But some of the features that we currently have is one is the ability to keep track of your customers, and I feel like with COVID-19, huge influence right now for you. So your ability to track whether your customers have been impacted with hail. A lot of you guys that can't canvas or can't keep track of what's going on out there, that's your way to make money right now. If you know that your customer got impacted with hail, you can call them and say, hey, you've been impacted with hail. We'd like to come out and take a look at your roof. And you can keep it virtual. You don't have to knock on any doors. You don't have to make anybody mad. You'd be shocked that we'll take customers that have, let's say, we'll get a new roofing client. Say they have 1,000 clients. I'll almost guarantee that I'll find 50 roofs right off the bat out of the 1,000 clients that need a new roof, but they had no idea needed a new roof. So that right out of the gate is like the number one thing that I recommend that highly do by contractor. Whether it's through us or somebody else, it's got to be done. But next step is we can actually pull lists of entire populations impacted. So I can give you the names, email addresses, phone numbers, let's say everybody impacted by 2-inch hail. And we could even sort that to show you only the people with homes of $200,000 or more in value impacted with large hail. So we can get some really, really good data around people that were impacted with large hail. So that's a really, really powerful resource. We can also do the same thing now with commercial properties. That's actually fairly new, being able to pull that list of commercial properties. So we've got that embedded in the website now. And then our canvassing tool is a really, really great tool with the ability to be able to drop pins and keep track of the damage and maybe some of the results of what you're doing with the leads that you're tracking, or maybe the houses that you're going to if you are out canvassing. So that kind of in a nutshell, that's HealthTrace. There's obviously a lot of ways to use it. In fact, contractors call us all the time and tell us, we're using it this way, and like, oh, that's a good idea. I had no idea. Wouldn't have thought of using it that way. But if you can really get into the details and learn how to use it, that's when you guys as contractors can use your knowledge around contracting, things that I don't know, that I don't understand, and learn to use the tool in different ways. It's very flexible in what you can do. I'm sure it's probably a lot like Giddy Up. I'm sure Jeff has had some people say like, oh, I would have never thought about using our stuff that way, but that's a great idea. So I know that's something that we run into all the time.
And then what about, are you still helping contractors with marketing?
We do. So we do mailers. It's not like something that we push a lot, but we do have the ability to send out postcards to homeowners. So you could say like, I'd like to send out a 6x11 postcard to all the people impacted with golf ball size hail that have a home value of 200,000 or more. And it usually takes about, with design time and everything, usually takes somewhere between 8 to 12 business days to actually get it to their mailbox. But it's a great way, especially right now. If you're not able to go out and outdoors, it's a way you can get in front of some people. Even in a time where it's not, where we are knocking doors, it's a great added marketing tool. So it gives you the ability to, if you're door knocking, if you're sending mailers, if you've got social media stuff going, if you've got, call center maybe calling for you, there's just a lot of different ways that you can push information out. And the more marketing you do, they're all kind of cohesive. So they start working together, which can be really, really powerful for your company. And makes all the marketing work better when it works together.
Yep. Yeah, brand awareness, get it in front of them as many times as you can. So.
All right, we're coming to the end of our time. We don't have any questions that came through on Facebook. Fellas, do you have any further questions?
I have one, and I was wondering, Rebecca, you always put us on the spot. We're always asking all these questions. What's your question for Derik?
That's funny, Jeff. So Jason and I were talking about the National Weather Service. Is it in Norman, right?
So the storm prediction, so there is a National Weather Service in Norman. There's actually a National Weather Service in just about every major city in the U.S. Like Tulsa, Denver has one, but the Storm Prediction Center is in Norman. And I would say the best National Weather Service as far as like facilities is in Norman. So it's kind of the weather hub, if you will, and it all kind of runs through the University of Oklahoma. So they all kind of work together. But the Storm Prediction Center, they issue the outlooks that you might see on a lot of your TV stations. Also the watches, so the tornado and severe thunderstorm watches that get issued for the whole country. Those are done by the Storm Prediction Center. But then your local National Weather Service, they issue the warnings you get. So when you get a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, those are done by National Weather Service reps inside of each National Weather Service office. And so in this case would be so if you're in Colorado, actually, I think it's in Boulder is where the National Weather Service is in Colorado. Yep. And then like Oklahoma City's is in Norman, Tulsa's is in Tulsa. They couldn't get creative, I guess, on a smaller suburb in Tulsa, but and then, so like Amarillo, Texas has one, Dodge City, Kansas City, Wichita has one. So just about like, if you kind of go like a 100-mile radius, 80-mile radius, there's typically one in just about every major city. And they're the ones that issue the local warnings at each location.
We heard that
question. I'll get asked
you don't need it because you're the champ. So who cares about those National Weather Centers? Is that true? Well, and the important question is, are you an OU fan?
Oh yeah, Boomer Sooner all the way. So
I thought you were a Buckeye fan,
Mayfield.
Derik. I thought you were a big Ohio State fan.
I enjoyed watching my Sooners plant the flag on the Buckeyes field a couple
Now
years
Jeff's
ago. That was a lot of
quarterback.
fun.
Yes.
Oh man, I didn't think you'd bring that up.
So you got to be a Baker Mayfield fan then, right?
Yeah.
It's like bittersweet, right?
You take what you get, right? You got to take the good and the bad.
That's right. I'm a Browns fan now, so I'm hoping they can. I'd love to see him do something impressive up there.
Well, he
So
knows how to
Alright,
plant a
fellas,
flag. We
anything
know
else?
that.
the only thing I had to do in closing was, Derek, if a contractor, which there's very few these days that don't know who you are or what you guys do, if they want to get in touch with you guys and do a call or a Zoom meeting or whatever, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
So the best way, so there are a couple of ways. You can give us a call. We've got a great staff that's able to answer phone calls. We're at 855-334-4245. So that'll go right into our office, and there's usually somebody available. You can also, on our website, there's a little chat button in the bottom right corner. You can click on that. That goes to my entire staff. That's a great way to get a hold of us. Another way would be to email us, info@hilltrace.com. Another easy way to get a hold of us too. So any of those ways, and we can set up demos or do anything to help answer questions that you might have.
Wonderful.
Cool. We appreciate you, Derek. It's been a good
Hey,
one.
Thank you so much for coming, Derek. Next week we have Justin Woodruff from Ready Roofing. So we look forward to having everybody on. And thank you so much, Derek. It was great talking with you. Good luck today. Can't wait to see the live streams.
Absolutely. We'll
Appreciate
try to
you,
be
Derek.
streaming on. Yep, absolutely. Talk to you guys later.
See you guys.